We are now ready to identify the 4 peaks. We have provided 2 pure standards, naphthalene and anthracene, and our prac manual discussion has shown us that resorcinol has been added to this mixture as a non-retained compound, which tells us that resorcinol is peak number 1, so there is no need to inject that compound on its own. By injecting just these 2 compounds, we will then know which compound the last unknown peak will be. Before we analyze the individual standards, we will need to clean the injector with methanol to remove sample A from the injector. So place the injector onto the load position, remove the sample, and now clean the injector as we have discussed earlier. You can now fill your syringes with each of these solutions and perform individual injections using single start, as we have shown you before. This is the chromatogram for anthracene. As you can see, the peak eluted at approximately 3.5 minutes. I will now show you the chromatogram for naphthalene. As you can see, naphthalene elutes at about 2 minutes. In order to do the comparison, I will show you all 3 chromatograms on one slide. This is chromatogram 4. Conditions were 80% methanol, 2 moles per minute, and the wavelength of 254. This is our naphthalene peak or injection, which shows us that peak number 2 is naphthalene. The retention time for naphthalene matches the retention time for peak number 2 in the mixture. Further, you can see that anthracene elutes at 3.5. So the peak in the mixture chromatogram that elutes at 3.5 is for anthracene. This therefore tells us that peak number 3 belongs to fluorine. So now we have identified all 4 peaks by their retention times. Resorcinol, as we mentioned earlier, is your non-retained peak, therefore it elutes first. Peak number 2 is naphthalene, peak number 3 is fluorine, and peak number 4 is anthracene. This concludes the practical, but before we switch off the instrument, we need to perform a shutdown procedure. So we will go to real-time analysis and change the mobile phase composition here at solvent B to 100% and download the method to save it. This will clean out any impurities from the column that may be there, and it's also the best solvent to store the column once we are done. We will leave it to flush the column or to run through the column for approximately 10 minutes, which is our equilibration time. During this time, you can again now clean the injector with our rinse solvent methanol so that the injector is clean and ready for the next analysis on the next day.